So we have a lot to get to today, and it's one of those moments where the Supreme Court is doing what they do, and it's going to matter greatly. It's going to matter greatly for a lot of us who have any relationship to people who are in school, for those of us who have relationship to anybody who is planning to go to school. And I'm not just talking about college. I'm talking education, pre-K, 3K through whatever end point of education that you may envision for yourself or your family. We got a lot to talk about because the Supreme Court did something yesterday that is going to really allow the fullness of the Project 2025 situation to manifest in the education space in ways that are really just, quite frankly, just tragic. Just absolutely tragic. And considering that it's July 15th and we are now in a position where school is coming, right? School is it's here. Like a lot of you have school starting in August. I live in, my kids, we in the Northeast, so our kids don't start school until after Labor Day. But some of y'all have children who are starting 3K through 12th grade in a couple of weeks. Some of you are realizing that those of you who have children going off to college, you are waiting for financial aid applications and notices and information, not even just from the schools that your kids are planning to go to, but from the federal government. You might be waiting a long time. You really might, because of the way in which the Supreme Court snuck in a move yesterday that just once again reminds us that elections really do have consequences. They really do have consequences. And when you're considering what it's going to look like for those of us who have to navigate the school system, for those of us who are going to have to navigate the way in which we are now essentially really going to have to do what our ancestors did. And by that, I mean really going to have to think about what education looks like for ourselves, what does it look like to structure an educational and learning environment where no one is there to fund it, to support it, to help it. And we got an opportunity right now. And it's not great because I'd rather not. Let me not say it that way. I don't want to say that it's not great. It's not an ideal situation to be in because it's going to cause some problems. It really is going to cause some challenges that we're going to have to think about. But we get an opportunity now to do some things a little differently, some things that I think our ancestors wanted us to do from jump. We didn't for a variety of reasons. No need going into that now. It is what it is, but here we are. And so we're going to be unpacking that today. It's going to be a massive education for liberation because, again, it's not just about letting you all know what the problems are. It's also about thinking about what the solutions are. And that's going to matter a lot. So we got a lot to get to today. We're taking your calls, of course, at 866-801-8255, 866-801-TALK. I just want to give an initial announcement that it appears we may be approaching a farm worker strike. Have you all heard about this? We're going to talk a little bit about this today. Farm workers, laborers across the country have had enough. They said, we're over this shit. We're done with it. You want to hunt us down and chase us through the woods, chase us through the Home Depot parking lots. You showing up to the courthouses when we trying to be law-abiding residents. And people are they're very upset. Very upset. And so they have decided to tap into their power. And so they have announced yesterday a 3-day strike. And I've been following this for a little bit. Didn't really talk about it because, you want to see a thing happen. You want to get, and this is not one of them we break news shows. This ain't no investigative journalism. We ain't breaking no news. We just connect the dots. That's what we do here. We ain't got the resources to be no breaking news. I leave that to the breaking news kind of journalists. But I've been tracking this because there's been a lot of discussion about this on social media. And California farm workers have essentially decided, yeah, now's the time. And the thing of it was the way they were organizing, they didn't tell you when it was going to happen. That's one of the things that was so interesting. They weren't saying when it was going to happen. They were just saying that a strike is happening and you got a little bit of time to figure it out. But we not doing this shit with y'all no more. We ain't gonna be running through these strawberry fields that y'all can't pick. We ain't gonna be running through these tomato patches that y'all can't. We ain't doing this no more with you. And so they have issued a set of demands, including a path to citizenship, a stop of immigration rates. We're going to talk about that as well. So we got a lot to get to because the world is doing things. And moving on from America seems to also be one of them. And apparently people are really, really committed to this Jeffrey Epstein situation. I thought MAGA was going to get over it once their dear leader told them to get over it. But it's not getting overed. They're very upset. Very upset. And they're now saying, well, if he's lying about this, then is he lying about everything? And I'm like, You're almost there, guys. You're almost there. Just keep trying. You're going to get it. I promise you it's going to make sense to you. It might not yet, but it will. It will. They're so close. It's as if they can almost sense it. Not really, but they're almost there. They're almost there. And so that's been interesting to watch because we've seen how this was something that the right used for years. For years, this Jeffrey Epstein story. They used it for years to say that the Democrats were the deep state and the Democrats were trying to, they didn't want the Epstein files to come out. And then they were excited about the fact that their dear leader was now going to be in office. And they were happy because they thought they were going to get the Epstein files released. And then Pam Bondi came out and she said, well, not only is there a list, not only is there a file, it's on my desk right now. And I'm reviewing it as soon as I leave this interview from Fox News. And so people were hyped. People were excited. They were ready to go. And then their dear leader was like, ain't nothing, why y'all keep talking about Epstein? Who Epstein? I don't even like him. Like, don't nobody even care about Epstein. Move on, guys and gals. Like, what's the problem? What's going on? And thought that was going to be the end of it. Child, they done called for Pam Bondi to get run up out of there. The people who are podcasters who made a whole lot of money podcasting about this topic in particular, who are now in charge of the FBI, like Dan Bongino and what's the other one, Kash Patel, they are very concerned, although people aren't quite sure how they're going to react because, again, after they're done with office, they got to go back to like the real world of podcasting because apparently that's all that they do. And not, no shade. I have a podcast. Shout out to Lurie Breaks It Down and to all of you who follow. Oh, and by the way, no, the podcast Lurie Breaks It Down is not on YouTube. I know people sometimes put their podcasts on YouTube, but our podcast is not. It's on podcast networks like Apple, Spotify, SiriusXM, places where you get podcasts that don't have video. I keep getting people asking me if I'm going to put it on YouTube, and no, probably not, because it requires a lot of video editing in ways that aren't as easy as audio editing. We are going to be doing some things in Substack. We're just sort of sorting that out, but I don't see it going up on YouTube because that would be a little redundant, I think. I don't know. I can be convinced, but yeah, I think it's a little redundant. Anyway, so but people whose only way of really making money before they became the unqualified, mediocre, white, entitled, and incompetent members of the Trump administration, they were podcasters, and a significant portion of their funds came from spreading the story about the deep state. And now they can't do that anymore because they thought the deep state was the Democrats. And late last night, the Republicans tried to do a thing to make this all go away. And now it's clear who the deep state is. And MAGA's not happy. They're very upset. They're not very happy at all. So we got a lot to get to. I'm excited about it because, I enjoy making sure that we are up to date and aware as to what's going on. And, I just need to make a quick clarification before we get into our moment of gratitude, or a quick correction, not a correction of something I said, but a correction of something that was said on another one of the amazing shows here on SiriusXM's Urban View Channel 126. There was a discussion yesterday. The amazing Karen Hunter had a discussion about a lot of wonderful things. This was a phenomenal show, and I'm so glad that there's a replay immediately following her show because I was finally able to catch it, and I thought it was really, really good. And part of the conversation centered on the way in which members or people become members of various Divine Nine organizations. And as you all know, we had we who are members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated had our 57th National Convention last week in DC. It was amazing, wonderful. I've talked about it extensively, so you all understand how I feel about it. But then there were, and part of that included an announcement of a number of honorary members for our organization. And there was other organizations that also recently announced honorary members. And so there was a conversation about honorary members and membership. I'm not getting into that because that's not my business, because I'm not an honorary member of anything. And someone called in and said that while they did not know what the honorary member process was, that somebody should ask Lurie Daniel Favors, because Lurie Daniel Favors, they said, had been an honorary member. And I gasped out loud. I had to rewind it 4 times because that is absolutely not the case. I do not know what the process entails for an honorary membership because I have not been made an honorary member of anything. And so I just wanted to make sure that was clear so that the rumor mills don't get a buzzing and a hustling. And shout out to Karen, who was like, no, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. I just needed to make sure you heard it from me. You heard it from me. We're going to correct this record. Shout out to my amazing line sisters who are a part of the North Jersey alumni chapter, Spring 23. We get it correct. get it correct. I might be new, but I am Lurie Daniel Favors. So we gonna leave it at that. I just had to make sure that was clear because I literally gasped out loud. I think I was eating a piece of seaweed at the time and I almost choked on my seaweed chip. I was like, what? What happened? Who said that? So, yeah, just wanted to make that correction. And again, it is beyond my capacity to determine how anyone becomes a part of anything. I think that if there is something in your heart that you have loved and wanted and yearned for, however the Lord brings it to you is how the Lord brings it to you. And I ain't got nothing to say about that at all. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions. I'm not necessarily one of them on that particular topic, particularly because I don't. So just need to make sure the record was clear. Make it clear. Make it plain.